first, thank you for the birthday wishes. And I am working because I love the job. My identical twin brother, he's at the beach. So,
just let's start with this report. Let's start with all of the excitement / hype / I don't know what about the fact that not just BlackRock, but Fidelity and so many others have attempted, at least, or have applications in to try to get a Bitcoin ETF going. And the question is whether just because they're asking, is it going to be approved?
Yeah, it's going to get approved. We actually think, we're partnered with Invesco on an application. We think it happens this year in 2023. All the indications of dealing seem to be heading in the right direction. And that's, from
what's Mike, though, because I don't want people to, Mike, people are going to say he's talking his book. He owns a lot of Bitcoin. He wants this to happen, obviously. What would you pinpoint and specifically suggest that you're seeing around the approval process that is somehow different today than it was a year ago, than it was 2 or 3 years ago?
The most significant piece was the SEC lost in court, right? The judge had said, what are you talking about, SEC? You have a futures ETF and you're saying you can't have a cash ETF. That makes intellectually zero sense. And I think that put the SEC on the back foot. And I think Gensler needs a win. There's a tremendous amount of pressure to do something that is rational. The American public wants this. BlackRock, who's the largest asset manager in the world, is out publicly saying we're going to get this done. And it's, I can't talk specific about conversations our guys are having, and, that's on the Invesco side. But talking to all the other people, it just feels like the dialogue with the SEC is all heading in the right direction.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Support this great content by hitting the Cash App and by joining the Patreon.
And we have Mike Novogratz on CNBC. We know he's a Goldman Sachs guy. And he states that a spot Bitcoin ETF should get approved this year. States that BlackRock wants to get it done. And guys, we know why they want these Bitcoin ETFs and the stock market being tokenized and turned into an ETF because of the fourth industrial revolution. Remember, everything is going to be tokenized and put on blockchain, and it's going to be a whole decade inside the United States with no growth. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And then Mike Novogratz laughs about the fake news from Cointelegraph about BlackRock being approved for a spot Bitcoin ETF. But guys, $100 million was liquidated. It's definitely not funny. But again, he's a Goldman Sachs guy. And he quotes Larry Fink again about Bitcoin being a quality asset and a flight to safety. And remember, guys, Bitcoin received its fame off of the 2008 crash. And now the NWO is going to take us through something worse, or a Great Depression, in order to get us landed into the fourth industrial revolution, where the robots, algorithms, and drones take the economy over, pay each other with crypto, and the sheep go inside the metaverse. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you.
But when you say the dialogue with the SEC, have you seen a shift, a fundamental shift in the way the SEC, anecdotally, I imagine, would have to be the only way you'd know this, has changed the approach to thinking about this in light of that lawsuit? Which is to say, Lena Khan has lost lawsuits before, in her agency at the FTC. That hasn't shifted the way she thinks about antitrust regulation in the United States.
Yeah, just the public filings back and forth and the comments you're reading online. The people's comments are much more constructive, and when you go to the comment period, what they're asking about all seems much more specific than general, and that seems to be a good sign. We'll see. I don't have a crystal ball. This is my intuition.
Right. By the way, do you have any thought on what happened during this week and how that report came about? I know that organization is planning to investigate how the report was written, but there's some people that are anxious or worried that there's manipulation at play.
The last day for the SEC to file an appeal on that suit came and went, and so there was some expectation or excitement. And Cointelegraph, I believe, put out an errant report. We were sitting on our desk thinking, I don't think Cointelegraph is going to be the person who breaks, this story. I think the SEC probably has other sources if they want to break a story. And so I was a little skeptical myself. What it does tell you is the market will head higher on any positive news, right? You're going to have Invesco's Salesforce, BlackRock Salesforce, Cathie Wood's Salesforce, Fidelity Salesforce, all out selling Bitcoin. And Bitcoin has always been an instrument that is sold, not bought, right? It's getting people in the first time, explaining to them what it is. I think by far the most bullish thing that happened was Larry Fink on TV saying, don't worry about that rumor where Bitcoin's going up because people see it as a store of value and as a flight to quality asset. That's the largest asset manager in the world. And it's no longer talking about how it works or why it's important. It's just a recognized macro asset. And that's a huge psychological shift.
And we have Gary Gensler finally talks about his identical twin. Not saying a lot about the grayscale case, but we know he's a chess piece just like Janet Yellen in order to kick the regulation can down the road. And why is he kicking that regulation can down the road? That's right. So Xi and China and the Brics nations can rise. And you guys know I used to talk about the Belt and Road all the time. And now the Belt and Road is back in the forefront. And we know the past always comes back to the present. And we have the Eurasian trade routes making a comeback. All these countries coming together, and America is sitting on the sideline. But not our big banks and big corporations. They're funding it all. And remember, the Cryptoteacher told you, because he knows. When it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Last week, something else that happened last week, or rather didn't happen, was the SEC acting to appeal a court ruling from August in the Grayscale case. Grayscale, of course, trying to convert GBTC into a spot ETF. I know you can't comment on ongoing litigation, but should we still be considering that ongoing litigation, given that lack of appeal at this point? And if not, what happens next?
Wait, didn't you just say that you knew I wasn't going to comment on the litigation? But let me just say...
But is it still ongoing since you didn't appeal?
We didn't appeal last Friday. I think that's accurate.
So you could still in the future in another form.
But what we have in front of us, just so that the viewing public understands, we have not one, but multiple, I think it's 8 or 10 filings that the staff and ultimately the commission is considering for what's called exchange-traded products, for Bitcoin to be in a security. So the Bitcoin would be held, and then there'd be something called an exchange-traded product, and that would trade on various stock exchanges. And those filings are in front of us. I can't prejudge any one of them, but there's 8 or 10 that we're looking at.
Well, there is a large number, and there is kind of a narrative in this market, and I wonder if you could put it to rest, that someone's going to get to go first. Is that likely to happen, or is it likely to be a group approval? If you're going to have one, a bunch of products could be approved at the same time.
Again, I'm not going to prejudge. The staff's doing work on those multiple filings, but it's also about those companies are issuers. See, when a company is actually, or an asset manager is seeking to take something public, these exchange-traded products need to register with the SEC, and they go through a filing somewhat similar to going public, like an IPO. And so it's really the work of our Division of Corporation Finance that gives feedback. Our Division of Trading and Markets, of course, looks at the filings of the exchanges.
China can only do well when the world is doing well. When China does well, the world will get even better. Viewing others' development as a threat, or taking economic interdependence as a risk, will not make one's own life better or speed up one's development. Ideological confrontation, geopolitical rivalry, and bloc politics are not a choice for us. What we stand against are unilateral sanctions, economic coercion, and decoupling in supply chain disruption. China will establish pilot zones for Silk Road e-commerce cooperation enter into free trade agreements and investment protection treaties with more countries. We will remove all restrictions on foreign investment access in the manufacturing sector. The China Development Bank and the Export-Import Bank of China will each set up a 350 billion yuan financing window. An additional 80 billion yuan will be injected into the Silk Road Fund.
Besides Biden in Israel, is Putin is in Beijing with Xi about Belt and Road. So the changing international world order, something we're all trying to figure out.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China. But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of a huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Cryptoteacher and the New World Order book, plus the